You all heard from Reverend Anderson earlier this morning about how folks are here from literally all parts of the state of Arkansas. And I have the pleasure of being on stage with three folks who are leading efforts and doing this great work to ensure we have a complete count in the state to share their stories. So I'm excited to welcome Jarena Storm, who is here from the city of Fort Smith. She's on the Board of Trustees for the Fort Smith Public Library. Go Librarians. A member of Rotary. It turns out all of them are members of Rotary. We made that connection as well. And she has been really instrumental in helping Mayor McGill move this work in the city of Fort Smith. And if you haven't seen the bus, it's outside. And we have a dandy picture of those onesies that Mayor McGill mentioned earlier. So you'll get to see those too. So thank you, Jarena, for being with us and being willing to share what you all are doing and inspire others to steal from what you're doing.
It's called research and
Turn your
yes.
mic on. It should be. Push the hold. Yep, there you go.
Okay, there we go. Okay. It's called research and not reinventing the wheel.
Amen to that.
You know, copy and paste.
Yeah, that's
You
right.
know,
Copy and paste.
Copy and paste.
Yes, absolutely. Well, wonderful. Well, I also have Dr. Steve Cole, who's here as the chair of the Sevier County Rural Development Authority and chair of the Sevier County Medical Center. Dr. Cole has been doing some amazing work in DeQueen as well as Sevier County, obviously, and I'm thrilled to give you the opportunity to hear a bit more about their strategy in that corner of the state. Steve Nipper is here as the chair of Magnolia's Complete Count Committee. Many of you are either part or leading Complete Count committees locally, and he's going to share the work that he's doing with the City Council down there in Magnolia, as well as the Magnolia Arts Center Board, and we're sincerely thrilled to have these folks. I want to make this very conversational because I think there's some critical points about these folks' strategies that I want to make sure we highlight. Also, be thinking about what questions you have. We are absolutely going to turn to you for your questions and reflections on what these folks have to say. So I'm going to get started, and I'm going to start with Fort Smith, and I'd love for you to tell us a little bit about your strategy and specifically how you are leveraging the role of an elected official, Mayor McGill.
Thank you for your question, Abby. I'd be happy to answer that. And as far as our strategy, we are looking at this inclusively. So it's inclusiveness. You know, we are certainly concerned about getting a complete count, making sure that our numbers are accurate. But above that, we are interested in community building. Fort Smith has a lot of work to do. We have a lot of potential, but it's going to take us all to make those things happen. So we're using this opportunity to build relationships, to build trust, to build community, so that we all start to depend on each other and understand that none of us can forego this alone. So in terms of leveraging Mayor McGill, Fort Smith is very fortunate to have a statesman such as Mr. McGill as our mayor. He has knowledge, he has experience, he is living, walking, breathing history. When we talk about the civil rights movements, he was there. When we talk about other things that has happened in our country, he was there. So we don't have to go to the library and pull up a book. We can go sit down with our mayor and have a conversation. And in doing that, we're building relationships. We're building trust. because he's there, he's tangible, he's real. He has relationships not only in our city, in our county, across the state. He has national relationships, and to my surprise, international relationships. Just this past fall, he was invited to Berlin to speak at the 30th anniversary of the fall of the wall. Shocked me to death. I mean, I just started the position. Really? International travel? Okay. We can do that, though. So just that touch of reaching out and being able to speak with people, to garner their attention, to claim their hearts, and have them hear what it is that he has to say. We can talk all day. We can talk about the numbers, we can talk about the funding, we can talk about all of that. But if we don't make it relevant, if we don't actually touch people, then we've just talked all day.
Thank you. No, that's really helpful. And we'll come back and dive a little deeper. I want to turn to Dr. Cole down in Sevier County and at DeQueen, and have you share a little bit about why you've gotten involved and how you're leveraging really 3 different hats as an educator and as chairman of a couple of boards, what your explicit work has looked like and the strategy that's happening down in DeQueen.
Yeah, thank you, and it is a pleasure to be here. I have found out we have a 1987 graduate of DeQueen High School right there. Found that out. She said, "You're from DeQueen." I actually live in Sevier County. I live in a little town called Locksburg, but our main campus, I'm the chancellor of UA Cossatot, one of the UA schools, and we're in DeQueen. And I also serve as the board chair, and Steve Nipper and I had that conversation. He was board chair of the hospital in Magnolia, and I'm the chair of the new hospital. We're building a brand new hospital in Sevier County. And there's not many small communities that get to do that, and our old one had to close. We're reopening a new one in 2021. 84% of everyone in Sevier County voted yes to a sales tax. So we feel that we owe it to them to do the best we can do. And so I'm also the chair of the Rural Development Authority, which is an economic development authority in Sevier County. So if you look at education, healthcare, and economic development, you pretty much are telling the story of the census because all of those things are impacted greatly by the census. And our college, we're leveraging our resources because anyone that works at UA Cossatot, that's why we were just talking, we're Rotarians up here. You will find Rotarians and Lions Club members and volunteers all throughout our 200 employees because we believe in a servant heart. We believe in and we encourage people to be involved. And so we actually have Erica Buonrostro, and Rosa, we were having a conversation. Well, I was having a conversation with Mireya a moment ago. Where is she still in the room, or did she leave? Anyhow, but I've worked closely with Mireya and Rosa about all of the things that we need to be doing in Sevier County because of our Latino populations. But when we have that servant attitude, I have Erica Buonrostro, who is in charge of our Center for Student Success, but she spends hours, and Rosa knows her, she spends hours reaching out to the Hispanic community, trying to reach those that need to be reached. Our student ambassadors, we have 13 student ambassadors, 12 of them are Hispanic. By the way, if you didn't know, Sevier County has the highest per capita percentage of Hispanics in the state. Our college is the only Hispanic serving institution in the state of Arkansas. We have 28% Hispanic population. And also, our main feeder school, DeQueen, which is a 5A school in the state of Arkansas, they are 67% Hispanic. And so when we looked at the board, when we looked at the 9 different areas that are when someone's hard to reach, there are 9 different categories. We check off 7 of those in Sevier County. And so it's a challenge for us. So leveraging our college resources, knowing that if we build a new hospital, if our count isn't right, we are in trouble because a critical access hospital can barely survive anyhow. And so if you are restricting your funding, it gets worse. And then also we're trying to do a lot of things in Sevier County, economic development projects, And for the past year, it's been tremendous in what we're doing down in Southwest Arkansas. But we don't want that. We don't want that to stop, because the census comes back and it shows we've lost population. If you look at Sevier County's population of 17,000 at the last census, we knew then that that census was off by over 15%. We know that, but we can't prove that. And so this year there is this added urgency to make sure in 2020 that instead of those 17,000, we're going to show that we probably have 20,000 people in Sevier County, and we want that to matter. And so, in all the positions I serve, that's why I just texted the Rotary chair just a moment ago while I was sitting over there, and I said, Lisa, I said, you need to get me on the next Rotary Club agenda, because I want to speak about this.
I love it.
Because we have to get that word out. So.
Oh, that's great. Thank you so much. And turning to you, Steve, talk about how has Magnolia set up a local complete count committee, and explicitly what's driving the urgency in Magnolia?
Thank you, Abby. And I would first of all like to say thank you to Complete Arkansas Arkansas Counts Association, Abby and Kara and Rebecca, who I deal with every month on a committee that I serve on with her. But I do appreciate y'all's help with this. Alan Green, who is a partnership specialist who's done 3 census as far as I know. He's probably been involved with the Census Bureau for 30 years. He and I worked in 2010 census, and then we're working on the 2020 census. He's not our partnership specialist now. We have a new one. But he came to Magnolia back in May, and he trained us, did a great training. Is any of y'all, do y'all know Alan Green out there? Okay, very good. He's here in Little Rock, but anyway, he did a great job. And so we started a complete count committee back in May. And I definitely wanted to have a diversified committee. Our committee is 12 strong. We're in just the city of Magnolia, but you have to understand we're the county seat of Columbia County. Emerson, Taylor, and McNeil are other small communities in the county, and we all help one another best we can. I'm going to speak about Magnolia, but it overlaps into Columbia County quite a bit. One of their complete count committee people that serve on the Columbia County complete count committee is on my committee. But anyway, the mayor serves on our committee, and the mayor's the one who tapped me. I have to give Sarah Kinzer. She's not here right now. I serve on the Arkansas Community Foundation Board, and she's the one who got me involved in census probably a year and a half ago. But and she's pregnant. I hope she's not delivering a baby right now. But anyway, I'll come to the point. Our mayor is on the city complete count committee. One of our other city councilmen, I'm a city councilman on there also. We have faith-based people on there. African-American churches are represented there. With a local community foundation is representative, which represents a lot of nonprofits in our community. Higher ed through Southern Arkansas University's on there. Secondary ed, public school people are on there. We have a Chamber of Commerce person. We have an Hispanic representative, and the financial institutions are represented. So we have 12 people that meet. We meet every month. We meet usually it's the second Monday. It doesn't really matter when you meet, but we meet, and we've been doing this for like 6 or 7 months now. Anything else?
No,
Okay.
You've actually, in a lovely way, taken us down some of the core partners. And many of you have mentioned in the room who you represent and partners that you're working with. I'd love to turn back to DeQueen for a second for you to talk about locally. Who are some of the unique partners that you have at the table helping with your outreach to hard-to-count communities?
Okay, we have the city of DeQueen, and of course this is, and I'm glad Steve mentioned the other little towns. You know, Sevier County is not just DeQueen. You know, Sevier County has Locksburg and Ben Lomond and Mineral Springs, and when the preacher was mentioning all those little towns across Arkansas, I thought that's kind of cool. And that's the neat thing about Arkansas. If you live in Texas, you really don't know. If someone says, well, where's Mustang, Texas? No one knows. But in Arkansas, if you say, you know, I'm from Pansy, well, you know where that is. You stand around Fordyce, if y'all didn't know that, by the way. But you kind of know where everyone lives in Arkansas, so that now you do. Now you know, if you didn't know where Pansy was. But in DeQueen and Sevier County, you know, we do have a complete count committee. And just like everyone in here does, or you're going to have one, but we have a complete count committee. And on that committee and in the community, it's represented by the city of DeQueen, all of the other little cities that are in Sevier County, the Sevier County judge. There's probably a quorum court member or two somewhere on there. Our K-12 institutions that are in Sevier County, they are partners because if you go back to the hard to count, it's the children. And so the way that we're going to reach them in Sevier County, we're going into the schools. We're going to kindergarten. We're going to go make sure that we count those. But the K-12 institutions, we have Tyson and Pilgrim. We are in DeQueen, in the surrounding area, we have 6 Tyson poultry processing plants within 30 minutes of DeQueen. And then we also have Pilgrim's Pride, which they also process poultry. And so that is a huge industry, and some of the hardest to count come from those industries. And so they are our partners. And then we also have partnered with the Create Bridges program that you've heard of in the state. They've partnered. Also, the local chambers of commerce have partnered. So it is a all-out effort in Sevier County and DeQueen with all these different areas that we want at the table.
No, lovely. And, I hope this is sparking for you folks that you maybe haven't thought of locally that you could engage. What about Fort Smith? Who are some of the partners that you all have brought to the table that you think are adding some unique value?
Thank you for the question. In Fort Smith, we have a complete count committee that's comprised of 25 people. We've tapped every section that we could possibly think of. We have the Fort Smith Public School District that sits on our board, on our complete count committee. They have completed a communication plan that outreaches to the entire school district. And then that plan has been duplicated by our private schools, our Montessori schools, and our charter schools. So everyone in the educational arena is sending the same message. Of course, we're using our libraries. All 4 locations will be have kiosks, dedicated kiosks, to assist people with taking the census, those that don't have access to computers or internet. Our hospitals are big advocates and big partners with us. Can you pull up the? Can you pull up the?
Brad, could you click, please?
Our babies, the babies. For our babies. So we have partnered with Mercy Fort Smith and also with Baptist Health Fort Smith. And from now until April 1st, every baby that's born in that facility will receive one of these onesies to remind their parents to count them. Because we understand that ages 0 to 5 are very hard to count. So this is just a little message, hey you guys, count me. So we are hoping to get this idea across the state, because understand that my role not only is the local level for Fort Smith, but also the county level with Sebastian County, and also the state of Arkansas, supporting the chair, Mayor McGill. So these are easily duplicated. That's why we did Arkansas at the bottom, so anyone can order them. You find out a medical facility that like to use those, we're happy to share the design and the printer. Our printer is local, and he's working a really, really good deal for us, really good deal. We are working with the Chamber of Commerce. They sit on our committee. The Downtown Business Association in Fort Smith, very important. With the chamber is working with the our corporate entities within the city and asking them to have dedicated kiosks at their facilities so employees can take the census on their break time and not have to leave the facilities. We're working with the United Way, because the United Way works with the majority of our nonprofits. So that's another way that we're in. We're working with our civic organizations such as Rotary and Noon Exchange, and we're also tapping some of our social clubs. And also another big supporter of us is University of Arkansas Fort Smith. So they will be working with us on April 1st to host a Get Out the Count party on campus where we'll have food, we're doing iPads so we can sign people up, door prizes, a big community party just to celebrate all the work that we've done together.
Wonderful. Well, I think that Fort Smith might win the Cute Award. I mean, that is incredibly adorable. And I'll just make a plug that Arkansas Count serves as the ability to connect you to some of these resources. So as you hear things that are mentioned, or maybe you forget who you should follow up with, Kara, who is here and maybe has stepped out to welcome the governor, can be a source to help ensure that we connect everyone. The other thing I just want to make a plug for is this afternoon in the breakouts, if you're hearing things like messaging and communications and you want to go deeper into some of these ideas, we have a breakout for that. If you want to hear more about setting up a census support site that allows folks to come in and have internet access to fill out the census, you can see and join that breakout session. We have a breakout session for that too. So we talked a little bit about this in describing the outreach and communications, and I want to go a little bit deeper. You talked about hospitals. I'll start with Fort Smith on this question. Tell us about that bus in the parking lot. Like, what are you doing with the bus, and how did that come about?
Okay, so the mobile kiosk was the idea of our deputy city administrator. And really, I think he was joking, to be totally honest. And he threw the idea out there. I was like, I love it. Let's do it. So then I started working on wrap designs and all this other stuff. And he's looking at me going, you're really serious? I'm like, yes, I'm serious. So this is part of our inclusiveness plan. So rather than making people come to us, we are going to them. So we're looking at the Rome map, we're looking at the tracks that were undercounted in 2010, and we're going to them. We are spending time trying to, again, build community and build relationships. So we're attending cultural festivals like Lunar New Year that's coming up. We will be attending, we are sponsoring some of the things. We'll have our census van there. We'll be giving out information. We're hosting Cinco de Mayo celebration. We are doing absolutely everything we can to make our community feel welcome and included, to let them know we're thinking about you. We're cognizant of the things that you're doing. So we want to be a part of it. We're not going to make you come to us. We're going to go to you.
What about messaging in Magnolia? How are you all cultivating your messaging and communication outreach to hard-to-count populations?
Well, we've identified our hard-to-count people, just like y'all have also, is our Hispanic population, our African-American churches that need to be tapped, under 5, 0 to 5, and our group quarters, which are, the college, nursing homes, homeless shelters, this kind of thing. So what we've done, and we've been involved with this, I guess maybe our first big event was Blue and Gold Day on the square, in which SAU students came to the square in downtown Magnolia, and we had our awareness pieces out there. We've done a lot of this, started with our county fair back in September, which is another way we, not only Magnolia, but the whole county was involved in that. So we had awareness pieces there. We had volunteers from our committee that sat through that. We've had other events on the square in downtown Magnolia. We're also, let's see, I guess it's Saturday, our local NAACP banquet is for 400 people. We'll have a person there, plus we'll have one of our awareness pieces that will be on the table for each person that attends that. There's been a number of events that we have already tapped into. We're also going to do, I think I may have mentioned this in another meeting, but we have electronic billboards in Magnolia. We'll have messaging on that. Since they cooperated with the City of Magnolia, they've decided to do a PSA for us. So electronic billboards, whether you like them or not, we can use them. A lot of people in Magnolia don't like electronic billboards, but of course we'll be doing PSAs. The Census Bureau has great information. Census 2020.gov. I mean, if you get on there and sign up for their emails, you'll get 3 or 4 a day. So they got a lot of information, and we can take those. We've printed stuff from those PSAs. We've also going to do PSAs with the radio station. We don't have a TV station. Some of y'all might not have newspapers anymore. We don't have a newspaper anymore. We get the ZEP once a week. So anyway, we'll be doing that kind of information. The hard to count people, particularly the 0 to 5. Is it time for me to quit?
No, that's for me.
That's for you. It's time for me to move on. Okay. I'm just going to say, in particularly the children hard to 0 to 5, we've identified Magnolia Specialized Services, our I guess our pre-K. I'm just not talking to this pre-K people. We've got identified awareness pieces that will go. They've all agreed to do it. We put flyers in there. We put little cards that will go home with the kids, that kind of thing. So,
thank you. Turning back to DeQueen, Dr. Cole, can you talk a little bit more, very briefly, about how you're localizing your messaging? You mentioned the hospital, but exactly how are you taking that localized message to the community?
Well, I want to take a page out of Mayor McGill. I just want Mayor McGill to come to our town and give the same presentation he gave just a minute ago, because it's impressive. But we're actually speaking in those types of those terms, because what we're doing, and when we're trying to reach out, and some of the hardest to count in our area are Hispanics. And we have people like Mireya and Rosa, and we have people with the coalition that are helping with that. But to localize it, we are going to them. We're going to the churches, because that is a really nice gathering place. And we are saying about the same things the mayor said. We're letting them know, we're getting ready to build a new hospital. You want that to succeed, right? I mean, we all voted for the tax. This is how we can guarantee that. You all wanted... you said that you wanted better education in our area. This is how you do that. You wanted our economy to keep growing, and we keep receiving grant funds, and that's how we're localizing. We're taking it right down, and again, it's the same thing that Mayor McGill said. We're saying, if you care about that, you need to fill out the census.
And a plug for a breakout, because we have a breakout for that. Hillary Trudell from The Yarn is here with us and is part of one of the breakout sessions. If you want technical assistance to help figure out the it in your community and how to tell that story, go to that breakout session. It's an opportunity. I'm going to now ask Sarah to stand. She's got a microphone. Do you all have questions for this panel? And I'll ask, if you would, as you grab the mic, say your name and where you're from.
Hello. Tamaridis Baker from Arkansas Community Action Agency. So my question for you guys is, I hear that you're going out to all these different events and sessions for people, but what are you individually doing to reach the people that don't feel like they should be doing it, to break down those silos and the judgments? Like, what are you doing there? Because those people may not go to church. They might not be going to the hospitals. They may not be going to the events that you guys have. So what's some guidance along those lines?
Let me just say one thing about the Latino Hispanic community. That's a very good question for us. Yes, we can go to the Catholic Church there. They do have their own Mass, and we can provide information to them. We can speak to them in church. Father Will's allowed us to do that. We've also had a good suggestion from our Hispanic representative on our committee that we have 7 Mexican restaurants in town. I don't know, Mexican restaurants seem to be pretty big in South Arkansas. But anyway, go to those restaurants and speak to the workers there. Yes, we're hearing stories about Hispanic folks and a lot of those aren't in Magnolia. They may be out in the county, which still we want to try to help the county. But it's hard to find those people. So it is a very difficult task. That's the one area I'm really afraid of in Magnolia.
Others, thoughts about how are you actually reaching people that may not be in some of the places like the county fair or the faith community? Go ahead, Fort Smith.
So I'll say in Fort Smith, our yard signs are Brad, can we get our yard signs? So in Fort Smith, we are producing yard signs. So we have the You Matter movement going on in Fort Smith. So these signs just started popping up that said You Matter. And people became curious because there was nothing online, there was no information anywhere, so word of mouth. Everybody just started talking. Where's this sign coming from? Who's doing this? What does this mean? So we're hoping that we'll have the same effect with yard signs for the census. When we start to put those out, that people will begin to ask questions and talk to their neighbors. We're also doing decals for our city vehicles and decals, Brad? Yeah, okay. Okay. These are our vehicle decals which look just like our yard signs, but we're placing them on our city vehicles. Our sanitation trucks are bright blue. So this is going to stick out, and somebody's going to see that and go, what was that I just saw? Our street trucks are yellow. This is going to stick out. Again, what was that? So we're really depending upon word of mouth. And then we have this great little component going on in Fort Smith in social media, Facebook. There are several forums that have been set up by our community members. Fort Smith Residents Forum, The Hard Truth About Fort Smith. So we're hoping that those individuals will catch on and start asking questions and spread the word for us.
Wonderful. Fort Smith has great ideas, and you guys are certainly implementing it. Who is paying for those decals? Who's paying for those signs? Where's the money coming from?
Great question.
Amen. God bless you. So, as far as the graphic design is concerned, graphic design has been donated by my husband. So all the graphic designs that you see, including the shirt that I have on, was donated by my husband. Him and I sat down and talked together. And I want to tell you a little bit of the significance behind this shirt. In the city of Fort Smith, we speak 59 different languages in our public school district.
Wow.
Right? So that's a lot of kids going home to talk to parents that don't speak English as their first language. So we wanted to represent them, or some of them, because we couldn't get all 59 on here, we have 21, but represent some of them to let them know that we understand and that you count. Now, you have to understand that some of the other languages, when you translate what we say in English, it doesn't translate the way that we say it. So we say everyone counts, but in Arabic it says you are important. In Hebrew it says you're important. So that's how it translates to them. But again, the message is you count, you are important, you are a part of our community, we need you.
So you have some donated resources.
So we have donated resources, which has been great. We did receive a grant from Arkansas Counts, which took care of the wrapping for our bus, and also we're running 3 PSAs. We're in the part of recording right now. We are actually out asking community partners to fund some of our stuff. So as far as the onesies were concerned, when it was presented to the to the CEOs, and they said, "Oh, we like it," it was like, "Okay, well, this is how much it's gonna cost." This is what we can do. This is what we can do from a city perspective to help, but this is what it is. So a lot of them were like, "Oh, we want to do our part, so we'll catch the cost for you."
So I'm curious, in DeQueen, how are you all paying for the work and efforts of your committee?
It's volunteer and donation.
Yep.
I mean, we didn't get a grant, but the college, we own 2 radio stations. So we're leveraging that to run PSAs. We have another local radio station that broadcasts in English and Spanish. We ask for that. We do ask for help from the newspaper, although it's only running once a week now, and I don't know how long that's going to last. But anyhow, but we're doing that. But what we're getting ready to do, I was talking to Erica Buenrostro last week, because preparing for this, I told her, you need to go to this thing, but she said, no, I can't. I have something to do. But she said, just to let you know that, when it comes to the Hispanics in our community, they tend to live in a very large block that we can get to. They're not spread everywhere across the county. And so we actually are going with volunteer labor. A lot of them are students at our college. We are actually going to go door to door and to try to help alleviate some of that fear, to try to reach everyone. And then, because the census starts April 1st, and then they start on May 1st trying to clean up and trying to reach those that have not responded, as part of something we have every year on the courthouse square. And it used to be on our college campus, but last year we moved it to downtown DeQueen. It's called Fiesta Fest. It's always the Saturday before Cinco de Mayo. And at that, we're going to have kiosks set up because it is very well attended. And so between door to door, all volunteer labor, and then between the Fiesta Fest, which is all volunteer labor, that's how we're reaching out.
No, and that's a really good question. I've got time for one more question. I will just put a plug that we have a breakout for that, is canvassing and door-to-door organizing. So if you want to know more about the best way to be efficient and think creatively in your community about that door-to-door outreach, please go to that breakout session. I will put in a cautious note that I am thrilled that the Census Bureau reflects that they will go door to door and follow up with people who don't complete their census. Their budget is also, in reality, pretty cut. And so depending on that door-to-door outreach may be something that you don't want to risk. So it is incredibly important that we in this room do that type of outreach and not put all of our eggs in one basket, that every single person that didn't complete the form the first time will get a personal touch. So I have one more question over here before I break us for lunch.
Hi, Abby. My name is Sam Abbasi. I am the partnership coordinator from the U.S. Census Bureau that represents the great state of Arkansas. And I am absolutely thrilled about this summit. It is extremely impressive and very informative. This panel, in terms of the ideas that you've shared, are fantastic ideas that many of which have not been shared outside of the state. So you are pioneers in that regard. The reason that I wanted to speak at the urging of Mayor McGill as well is I wanted you all to know that the Census Bureau is also here to help. Now, you folks know that from all the work that you've been doing thus far, but come February 1st, the Census Bureau is going to be rolling out a national awareness campaign. This national awareness campaign is going to take advantage of all medias: radio, television, print, obviously social media. There are over 1,000 creatives that have been created for this campaign, and if you were to watch them or read them end to end, it would take you over 6 hours to do that. There's 150 commercials that are going to start broadcasting nationally, 220 radio spots. I actually have been hearing some radio spots here for the recruiting opportunities, which we strongly suggest that you continue to promote among your communities. We're going to have billboards, bus shelters, even at gas stations. But recruiting, folks, is absolutely critical. Abby, you were referring to the point just a moment ago about how the Census Bureau are great stewards of the federal taxpayer dollars, and we do have a budget that is less than it was for the last decennial. Of course, encouraging your communities to self-respond online, which is the first time in census history that is being offered, very confidential, very secure, of course, but also with the traditional paper form that will be mailed out to households, as well as being able to call in to the Census Bureau and have the responses taken that way. For the individuals, for the households that have not responded using those mediums, the enumerators, the door knockers, the census takers will be mobilized. Our responsibility, as is our shared mission, is to count everyone once, only once, and in the right place. But if they don't respond, we're going to go out and ask them to respond. And these are the individuals that are hired in the areas, in the counties that they live in. These are people that live and work in Arkansas. So they are going to be the enumerators. They are the trusted voices, so that when somebody knocks on their door, it might be a familiar face,
Right.
and they would answer the survey.
And you're still hiring,
Thank you.
right?
Pardon
Yep,
me?
and you're still hiring.
That is correct. We are vigorously hiring.
That's
so,
right. So if for those of you in the room that know individuals in your community looking for those types of positions, we encourage you to visit and learn more about that. I'd like to move us now to a final thought from each of our panelists. If you have a parting piece of advice for folks in the room, and then I will give some instructions about lunch. Let's start with you, Steve.
Okay, thanks, Abby. Let me just tag on to what people have said up here is that we have a very good mayor in Magnolia. I voted for him. He is, when you ask the question how we fund ours, I didn't get to answer that one, but he's been kind enough to find about $10,000 from our budget that can be used for this. Now, a lot of our expense so far has just been printing, getting that out. So we had to cut a pretty good deal with one of our printers to get that done. Another thing I'd like to mention about our mayor is that he's also allowed for all city water bills. So this will go to every household in the city of Magnolia to have a message on there. And it started this month. It'll go through April. That Census Day is coming. Be sure to respond to the census. So that's another good suggestion. They're all going to get a water bill, you know, even if it's a renter. So that's another thing. And finally, I'd like to say that in Magnolia, it means about $180,000 a year in state turnback that supports our fire and police and schools. And so that's why it's important to Magnolia.
So thank you. Appreciate that. Leverage the folks within arm's reach. Is that what I'm hearing? Parting thought.
Sure. One, don't reinvent the wheel. Use what's out there. There's lots of stuff out there. Stay consistent and persistent. You may think that people aren't listening to you, but they are. This affects us all. We are in this together. An undercount for any of our population is an undercount for all of our population. We are our brother's keeper.
Love it. Thank you. Parting thought, Dr. Cole.
Yeah, and this is something that I tried to apply when I was in the legislature, and I try to apply when I'm running the college or no matter what I'm doing. And I call it and you've heard of it, I'm sure, but it may be tired to y'all, but I call it the MSN. And when it comes to the census, when you look at the MSN method, there are things that you must have, there are things that you should have, and then there are things that are nice to have. And you have to decide. The census falls into the must. I mean, the whole state, not just our local communities, but the entire state, this is not a nice thing. This is not a should thing. This is a must thing that we all have to do.
Thank you. Would you all join me in thanking the panelists for sharing their stories? Thank you so much. So as we move to lunch, a couple of reminders. This is your last opportunity to grab a recording or share on social media to get yourself a raffle ticket. We will draw at the end of lunch. We are going to start with the table in the very back right here with Emily, and yes, hands raised. And our lunch is out in the atrium, and we do need to be quite speedy because we have Mayor Scott and the governor joining us at a very explicit time. So I'm going to encourage you to get your food and come back to your seat for that. And I'll ask that table to start us, and those of you in subsequent tables to just flow through the room, and you can go down. Thank you all, and I will reconvene us shortly.